Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. The last discussion we discussed there about Tadawi bil Haram. At-Tadawi bil Haram, right? We told you this in the Kitab as a default ruling, right? And then there's another ruling, Al-Zarura to Tubihul Mahdurat. I hope that is all clear, inshallah. If any questions, you can mention the questions. Now, the next thing we're going to discuss is we're going to continue with our discussion of when an animal, we discussed thus far, like when najasat falls in the well, etc., some type of uh, urine or some type of feces or stool and that type of thing, right? We discussed it. فإن بالت شاة نزح الماء كله, and that's urine, right? And then we done, and all this is, we told you that this is Maya Qalil, but it doesn't follow the normal laws of Maya Qalil, right? So now the next discussion is if you found, if a person came there to the well, right? And you find a dead animal in the well. Now, normally, that dead animal, when it dies, right, it becomes najis, right? You know that. That's why we told you, remember, we told you, we discussed this with you, that if you take a lion, or, right, that thing's skin is pure, right, until you don't see any najasat on it. But when it dies, right, okay, when you slaughter it, oh yeah, I was meaning to tell you this also. I discussed with you that masla about feeding the pets halal. I was telling you, I just checked up a little bit extra. I found the fatwa on it that we grew up, we always thought that you must, you can only feed your pet halal. But listen nicely to the details here. Animals that you're going, that is edible that you're going to eat. So if you got like a chicken as a pet, a sheep as a pet, a goat as a pet, a rabbit as a pet, then that maslah stands. You can only feed it halal. You can only feed it halal. Now these people, this another thing here. They nowadays they feed the cows the chicken manure, and they claim it's very very good. I have two cousins in the farming business, and they feed the cows the chicken manure, and they say it's very good. It blows up the cows and all that type of thing. Now, if you understood the must, I told you here that if it's an edible animal, it's an animal that you eat it. Are you allowed to give it najasat? Forget about najasat. You're not even allowed to give it what? Something which is sparked. If it's an edible animal, so that's completely haram. It's outright. Now the next mistake is if you got the animal that you won't eat, not the edible animal, like a cat, a dog, right? Then the only thing necessary is it must be parked. It must be parked. And I told you for it to be parked, it doesn't have to be a halal animal. Even if you take a lion or a dog, right, and you slaughter it, and then that's two things, interesting things here. It don't have to be slaughtered according to Sharia. It don't have to be, so long as the blood is expelled from it. So even if a non-Muslim slaughter it, or even maybe it's slaughtered by a machine, or kafir, or even if they sever two veins, but the blood is drained from it. The blood is drained from it. And even if it's not a halal animal, then that flesh will become part. There's a lot of latitude in it. Then you can feed it to an animal, a non-edible animal. Like you can feed it to your cat, you can feed it to your dog, right? And then there's another spin also here. The other spin is this here, that if the majority of the ingredients is permitted, so even though now you get this dog more, this cat food, all this stuff, they tell you it's meat and this and this and this and this, whatever. But they put a lot of junk on it to bulk it up. So even if the meat is not parked, and I show you the bare minimum requires for it to be parked as much as the blood must be expelled, and it must be yeah, it must be the blood must be slaughtered, even if it's another halal animal. So even if it doesn't meet that requirement, but if the greater ingredient is halal, so you got like 60%, maybe they put flour or something else, other junk. and only 40% meat. It is another principle. Lil aktari hukmul kul. You will consider the whole thing to be bread. So that seems to be quite a bit of latitude in the masla of feeding a dog and cat. Right? Is that clear? I've got a detailed fatwa. If anybody wants the detailed fatwa on this, I can send it to them, which gives all these details here. I can send it to you if anybody's interested in that fatwa. Anyway, be that as it may now, we're coming back to Sabak. So we were that's how we're discussing when the well is contaminated with najasat. I was telling you when the animal dies also, it becomes najis, the skin becomes najis until it's not tanned, right? So that means you got a najis animal in the well. You got a najis animal in the well. So if it's looking at a cat died, a rat died, whatever. One is got najas in his body. We don't even speak about that. We just say the body itself is najis. That's why we say in order for that thing to become park, you must stand that skin, isn't it? What we say. In order for that thing to become park, you must stand. So when the rat died, when the cat died, right? Even if it had no najas on it, its skin is najis, right? So you must, in order for the skin to become park, you must what? You must tan it again, right? You must tan it. So that shows you the skin is najis. That shows you the skin is najis. So that is why we say if the animal dies in the well, then it will contaminate the well. Are you with me? So, okay, so that's quite pretty clear. I hope you're following the train of thought. So you see what it's a build on that when the animal dies, the skin is najis, the body is najis, the flesh is najis, etc. Until the blood is drained out. Yes, when the blood is drained out, now it becomes part. So now because it is najis, the skin is najis, the flesh is najis. We know that all the time through your skin, you got pores, which perspiration come out, etc. So that perspiration, that body liquids is all najis. Are you with me? It contaminates the water. Right? I hope that's all clear. So now in the next text, you're going to say, if a smallish animal, like a rat, a bird, something which has that type of body mass dies in the water. So if you look at all examples, they see there, read there, Bismillah. Yeah. So if let's say a a rat died in it, oh usfurun, a swallow died in it, oh saudaniyatun. So daniyatun is also like a type of a bird, small bird, a small. You can check the exact. You check the meaning, exact meaning of it. It's like a kite bird. So it's a here they say also in the Shara. Then sa'watun, like a myna or something like that. All of these are small birds that have small, more or less the same body mass, the same body weight, right? Okay, then you get so the oh sa'watun, oh samun abras. Samun abras, that is translate like a bald snake, maybe a snake that has a like a white patch on his head. But nevertheless, if you don't know what each one means, but it's just saying a small animal with small body weight, right? So, Nuzi Amina Ishruna Dalwan. Again, I will repeat to you, this does not follow the normal law of najasat. Because if you are the bucket of water in a red dye, all will become najis. Or you are the bath of water in a red dye, all become najis. That's the normal law of Maya Khalil. But we mentioned in the beginning that the normal law of Maya Khalil does not apply because a well is difficult to remove all the water. The water, how are you going to remove the water, how are you going to clean it, etc., etc. So that's why we don't apply the normal laws of logic, but rather you apply you follow the answer, right? So nuzia mina ishruna dalwan ila salatin. You will remove about 20 to 30 buckets بحسب كبر الدلو وصغرها in relation to the bigness or the smallness of the bucket. In other words, if it's the average bucket, you remove between 20 to 30. If it's a bigger bucket, the bucket is double the size of a normal bucket, then you make it less. Then you remove 15, right? Can you reading? Or if it's a smaller bucket, the bucket is half the size of an average bucket for this well, then you will double it. You understood what I'm saying? Right. So يعني بعد إخراج الفأرة, first you will take the animal that died in it out, right? Then you will remove. Why? What's our proof for this? Not tamsak. لحديث أنس. There's a hadith of Anas أنه قال في الفأرة, he said with regard to the rat, إذا ماتت في البئر, he was died in the well, أخرجت من ساعته, it will be removed immediately. Right? You come there, you see there's an animal, dead rat, rat أخرجت من ساعته, ينزع منها 20 دلوا, right? 40 buckets will be removed. Right, carry on. والعصفور ونحو تعادل فأرة. What I'm saying is, look here, the hadith primarily speaks about the rat, right? So the hadith doesn't speak about all the small birds, but we know now that these small birds, it has more or less the same hajam, the body mass of the rat. So then the same law should apply to like a swallow, or a chipkali, or whatever, right? So they're saying there, والعصفور ونحوها تعادل فأرة في الجثة. It resembles in his body. فأخذت حكمها, it will take its hukam. Then, if you look there, they say there, between 20 and 30 buckets. والعشرون بطريق الإيجاب والثلاثون بطريق الاستحباب. The minimum is 20 buckets, and if you increase towards 30 buckets, that will be better because you are doing extra, right? Can I read the next one? Right. So we go to a slightly bigger animal. فإن ماتت فيها حمامة أو نحوه. So here, probably there's a hamam is referred to a pigeon, so like a bit bigger body, maybe this, right? أو نحوها, or something like it. كالدجاجة, like a chicken, والسنوري, or a cat. نزع منها بين 40 دلوا إلى 60, between 40 and 60 will remove. Carry on. That if you look at Jami Saghir, it's mentioned there. وفي Jami Saghir, that actually was the one of the Zahir Riwayat books, right? أربعون وخمسون, about 40 or 50, right? And here it say 40 to 60. It says 40 or 50 or other. That makes more sense because it's more in keeping with the Riwayat. Carry on. Nimaruya. Yeah. So there's a why the riwayat of Jami Sahih makes more sense because it's more in keeping to a hadith of Nabi Sallallahu that's narrated in the authority of Abi Sa'id al-Khudri. He said, "Qala fi Dajjal." He said, Nabi Sallallahu said with regards to a chicken, إذا ماتت في البئر, when it dies in a well, ينزع منه 40 دلوا. Right? You should remove 40. هذا لبيان الإيجابي. This is 40 to show the bare minimum compulsory. والخمسون بطريق الاستحباب, and 50 is what is voluntary better. So the 40 to 50, that is more better than the 40 to 60 because the 40 to 50 mentions Jami Sahih. It's more in keeping with the hadith of Nabi Sallallahu, right? Yeah, interesting masla here. So now we said bucket. You must use so many, remove so many buckets. What size bucket? Normally, when a person builds a well, then that bucket will be in relation to the size of the well. You won't build a small well, then you put a huge bucket to draw the water there. Or you won't make a big well and you put a small bucket. These people that make the wells, etc., they will put an appropriate bucket. So each well, so to say, each well, so to say, right? Each well, you will consider its own bucket. You will consider its own bucket. You won't consider a different bucket because generally the bucket will be in relation to the size of the well. You understood that? So ثم المعتبر في كل بئر دلوها الذي يسقى منها. So what will be considered in every well is دلوها, the bucket الذي يسقى منها, the one that the water is drawn from it. Carry on. Right? Some ulama say, Wakila dalun yas'al fiha sa'un. That you will use wherever we speak of the bucket, right? So Wakila, it said, dalun yas'al fiha sa'un. A saw can fit in there. Now, saw, if you remember, I remember last time we can Google it, it's Islamic measurement. It's about 2.5 liters. So the bucket must have minimum of 2.5 liters. Right? So they're saying, see, ولو نزع منها بدلو عظيم مرة, right, مقدار 20 دلوا جاز لحصر المقصود. If you were to, for example, have one big bucket, and this big bucket, say hypothetically, is equal to 20 buckets, and you took one bucket out one time, you'll be fine because you wanted specific quantity, and you remove that quantity, so that was obtained, right? Read the next one. Right. So in mata fiha shat, now he's saying a human being or a sheep, they are more or less in the same category, died. أو كلب. I read this, yeah. This whole in Maksuri. I told you that if you take a big bucket and the bucket is equal to 20 every batch bucket, that's fine. Because you've removed what you needed to remove, right? So the next one is this, yeah. If like an animal like a sheep or human being died, or a dog, Nuzia Jami Mafia, you have to remove all the water. In other words, if, for example, at this point in time, there was, this well was 2,000 liters or 2 kiloliters, then you must remove 2 kiloliters from it, it will become far, right? Nice. Why? What's our proof for this? لأن ابن عباس, because Ibn Abbas وابن الزبير and the Zubair أفتيا يفتي أفتيا, they gave the fatwa of أفتيا بنزع الماء كله, they removing the water all of it. حين مات زنجي في بئر زمزم, when a zanji means like an African slave died in the well of Zamzam, they said remove all the water, right? So interesting here. How do you, this the Shara is mentioned, I know I forgot I mentioned in the Kitab, how do you know, or it comes forward, yeah, it will come later on. Exactly how do you know you remove all the water, etc. But anyway, so till here we said is you just came to the well, right? And you saw there's a dead bird in there, you saw there's a dead dog in there, you saw, and I told you why does we say it renders the water najis? Because when it dies, it gives off, it becomes najis, like how the pelt becomes najis. We discussed this in detail. Now the next masla is you came there, فإن انتفخ الحيوان فيها, the the animal has really swollen up. It is swollen up. That is, the body is bloated, right? أو تفسخ, or after a while, it bursts. It swells up and it bursts. It's already burst. Maybe the well wasn't attended to, or nobody used it. You came after so long, and you see there's a animal there that is already swollen up, it's burst, whatever. You're gonna go that. You're gonna go that. Then they say yunza'u jami'u ma fiha. Under these circumstances, you will remove all the water. You won't see the size of the animal. You remove all the water, right? Yunza'u jami'u ma fiha, right? Here, صغر الحيوان أو كبر, whether the animal is big or small. Why? لانتشار البلة في أجزاء الماء. Because yeah, when that animal is swollen up, it was so long in the water, so that means all the najasat is spread out. Or if it bursts, it means all the najasat spread out. Ballati means because of the moisture, you can say, the particles. Huh? You got billati. Okay, that will make more sense. You can check it up. Lindisharil billati. Yeah. Yeah, they got also the moisture. So when it fragments, so all the particles is now najis. So now you have to remove all the water. Understood that? So here, still here, what we discussed is when the well you are able to remove the well. So I was telling you, remember I told you sometimes the well, it's born to rock. So the rock also has veins. So it fills the well slowly, slowly. So here you're able to remove all the water, and by the next day the well will be full again, right? But that so this is where you can remove all the water. But if the well was such that it was situated on a spring, وإن كان البئر معينة بحيث لا يمكن نزعها, the moment you take some water, the water is replaced. Once you leave the water is replaced. So now what do? Now you estimate. In fact, in the kitab I mentioned, you will try to work out how much water is in the well, and exactly the amount you will remove that. See there. لا يمكن نزعها. All right. أخرجوا مقدار ما كان فيه من الماء. Remove how much was in the well. So if I tell you 2,000 liters, 3,000 liters, you remove that amount, and then that will make it part. Okay, we stop there. We'll continue tomorrow, inshallah.